Manu, what are the results?
Yeah, Jim Jordan just won his party's nomination to be Speaker of the House. He won a majority of House Republicans, but he is far short of the votes that he would ultimately need on the House floor to be elected Speaker of the House. That number that he just won, 124 votes from Republicans supporting him to become Speaker.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the Speaker of the House because there's a very, very, very important update that I have to share with you guys that, you know, some of you may be very happy about and maybe a very small minority of you may not be so happy about. As Republicans spent the day deciding whether or not Jim Jordan should be Speaker of the House after Steve Scalise dropped out after he failed to get all the Republicans on board with voting for him to be Speaker if the vote goes to the House floor. Now, again, the last thing that Republicans want to do is to go to the House floor and to not all be unified on who should be the Speaker. Now, again, that has created a whole lot of kind of controversy in Congress, in which you have some Republicans that have been lashing out about the process as a whole. Take a look.
District like yours at risk?
Yeah, it does. These guys want to be in the minority. That's exact. I think they would prefer that because they can just vote no and yell and scream all the time. And but governing, you gotta work together.
It's a tough scenario, but there are people in there that are honorably trying to get to the right place, and then there are people in there, as you know, that like to go on the TV and are not necessarily negotiating for anything other than TV time.
How does that make you guys look?
Makes us look like a bunch of idiots.
Our Republicans will meet again on Friday morning at 10 a.m. to try to figure out their way forward. Jim Jordan, the House Judiciary Committee chairman, is expected to announce his bid for the speakership. Other candidates may yet emerge, but Jordan is no sure bet. In fact, a number of Republicans are telling me that they are not on board with Jordan's more conservative politics. So can he get 217 votes? Will another speaker candidate emerge, or will this crisis persist? And if it does, then that essentially means no legislation can be acted upon, whether it's about Israel aid, avoiding a government shutdown, or trying to provide aid to Ukraine. None of that can happen unless there is a speaker elected. There's some talk about elevating the interim speaker, Patrick McHenry, giving him new power. But at the moment, that is not happening, as Republicans are still grappling with their way forward in this historic stalemate on Capitol Hill.
So, yes, after some deliberating and other Republicans jumping into the race, more specifically Austin Scott, he jumped in to try to become the GOP Speaker nominee along with Jim Jordan, and Jim Jordan won. Okay, Jim Jordan basically got in at the last minute and got 81 votes. Now, again, Jim Jordan got 124. And so it looks like Jim Jordan is going to be the nominee to be Speaker of the House for the GOP. Now, of course, we got to get into some reactions here from neocons like Liz Cheney, who's having a full-blown meltdown. She says, Jim Jordan was involved in Trump's conspiracy to steal the election and seize power. He urged that Pence refuse to count lawful electoral votes. If ours nominate Jordan to be Speaker, they will be abandoning the Constitution. They'll lose the House majority, and they deserve to. Yeah, so again, Liz Cheney is having a heart attack, right, over Jim Jordan becoming Speaker. And Democrats also are throwing a fit as well, too. Take a look.
On the dysfunction and triple down on the extremism. House Republicans have selected as their nominee to be the Speaker of the People's House the chairman of the Chaos Caucus, a defender in a dangerous way of dysfunction, and an extremist extraordinaire. House Republicans now have a choice. There are only two paths forward. On the one hand, House Republicans can continue to triple down on the chaos, the dysfunction, and the extremism that has been visited upon the American people as a result of the House Republican Civil War. On the other hand, traditional Republicans can break away from the extremism, partner with Democrats on an enlightened bipartisan path forward so we can end the recklessness and get back to doing the business of the American people. And Democrats are ready, willing, and able to get that done. Now, my honor.
Yeah, so we're going to talk more about what Hakeem Jeffries is doing there at the end, because as Democrats alluded to, Jim Jordan, again, he still has to get a majority of the House to agree with him being the Speaker of the House in order for him to actually become Speaker. I believe he needs 217 or 218 votes from Republicans, and he needs to make up some ground, right, in regards to being able to get the votes that he needs in order to become Speaker. Now, I want to go ahead and to play some reactions from, I guess, both sides in regards to people who support Jim Jordan and people who don't support Jim Jordan, so that you guys can get a full understanding of kind of what's going on here. Take a look.
Yeah.
What do you need?
Oh, yeah. So tell me where you are on Jim Jordan right now.
Okay, where I'm at right now is since the folks that want to follow the majority, which is the rule, we should follow the majority. Kevin McCarthy had 96%. 4% took him out, joining with the Democrats. Now we're in conference where the Democrats don't get the vote, and I'm back with Kevin McCarthy. Since he, out of all of the folks that have thrown their hat in the ring, he is head and shoulders above the rest in the majority that he's able to put together. It was 96%.
And you're a no on Jordan on the floor right now.
I'm a no on allowing Matt Gaetz in the other 7 to win by putting their individual in as Speaker. Okay.
Well, look, first of all, at this point, the decision of our process going forward is going to be that of Jim Jordan. He is our Speaker designate, so it's going to be his decision. Personally, I think we should stay and finish this, but that's up to him, and I'm going to respect his decision, and whatever Jim needs from me, I will do that.
Is it clear there will be a Speaker vote Monday, or is it a possibility?
That's all in the hands of Jim Jordan. I think it's very possible, but it's in his hands.
Do you think that the second vote tally is indicative of the fact that Jim Jordan can get to 217 on the floor? Do you think it shows that he can get to 217?
Yeah, I think he can, but there's a lot of work that's got to be done in a short amount of time, and so we'll see how his team works through that. But in these type of situations, it's not really something that other members can do. It's going to be him with those people to find a way to get there.
Were you surprised at the total he got in there?
Yeah, I thought it would be higher. So, look, I'm consistent with you guys. Okay, get back to work, figure a way, and that's what he's going to have to do.
And if it can't be Jordan, then you want to run for Speaker?
I don't know at this point.
You want to be Speaker?
What I want to do is get back to work.
Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that. Now, again, we're going to talk about what work needs to be done and what I think are going to be the obstacles and what are the possibilities and outcomes that will result from a potential House floor vote regarding whether or not Jim Jordan should be Speaker. But I actually want to play this clip real quick of Kevin McCarthy being asked about Jim Jordan being selected as the Speaker nominee for the GOP, since you do have some Republicans that are dead set on Kevin McCarthy being the guy.
To get past 20,
I don't think it'll take 15 rounds. I think we'll be able to get on the first one.
But Congress cannot do anything at the moment. Everything is stalled. Is it time to make clear that Patrick McHenry has more power, give him more power, the interim speaker, in order to allow legislation to advance? Should the House do something about that?
Well, I always believed he did. Unfortunately, when all the Democrats got together with 8 Republicans and stopped it, the first thing they did was try to go to the Parles and say that that position didn't have any power. So they've really stymied, they brought chaos to Congress, and now they tried to stymie our ability to have continuity of Congress, which I think is a real problem, what the Democrats have done.
So
round up these votes that he still needs to get over.
I think he just has to sit down and talk to him. I think they'll be there.
But why you really don't think there should be another candidate, a consensus candidate? Is there a consensus candidate at this point?
How many people have we gone through? I think I think we'll be able to work this out, and I feel comfortable that we'll get there.
I mean, how do you think this reflects on the GOP right now, this whole episode?
It's terrible. I mean, if you think from a GOP perspective, 8 Republicans led by Gates worked with every single Democrat. That's Swalwell, that's Schiff, that's Omar, that's Tlaib, that's to bring chaos with the whole concept of being upset because we paid our troops. Our troops got paid today. Could you imagine being somebody in the armed services in the Middle East on your aircraft carrier right now, questioning whether your family's going to be able to pay the rent? That's what they wanted. That's why they wanted to throw me out. But you know what? I'm more than willing to fight for our American public, and especially for the troops.
And what does this do to your swing district Republicans? All of this, what does it do to the 18 members from Biden districts?
Well, that all the Democrats voted to try to bring chaos?
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, now I want to talk about what can happen moving forward and what to expect, because I think that what a lot of this is going to come down to be quite honest with you guys, like I tell you guys all the time in politics, what a lot of this is going to come down to is money. Okay, now Jim Jordan is a top GOP fundraiser. I think he's number 3 in the House behind Kevin McCarthy, Steve Scalise. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue. And I think that they'll probably have to work out some issues in regards to how that's going to work and how Jim Jordan is going to lead with that. Because, again, that's what a lot of these people actually really care about. Also, what I think is going to be a concern, and I think that this is going to be the biggest sticking point, is going to be funding to Ukraine, because Jim Jordan has basically came out and said as speaker, he would not support continuing to fund the war in Ukraine.
Well, let's talk a little bit about aid for Ukraine, because there are a number of conservatives who say in your conference that they will sink any candidate for speaker who does support aid for Ukraine. So where are you on that?
I've been clear all along. Why should we be sending American tax dollars to Ukraine when we don't even know what the goal is? No one can tell me what the objective is. Is it some kind of negotiated peace? Is it driving them out of the eastern Ukraine? Is it driving them out of Crimea, which they've had for 10 years now, but they took during the Obama administration? What is the objective? And so until you can tell me the goal, I don't think we should continue to send money there, particularly when we have the problems we have on our border. So that's fundamental. I just think that's front and center. And then second, how is the money that's already been sent, how has it been spent?
Right.
What kind of waste is going? Those are 2 fundamental questions that I think the American taxpayers want to know the answers to before they send any more of their hard-earned money there. Particularly, you're sending money there to protect Ukraine's border when we got the situation we have on our border. So those are the fundamental questions that we should get answered before we even think about sending more money.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, again, I think that's what it's going to come down to. Honestly, I really think that the funding in Ukraine is what is going to come down to, because there are Republicans in the Republican Party that do want to continue to send money to Ukraine. In fact, I would probably bet a majority of Republicans want to continue to do it, okay? Because a lot of these people are neocons, right? That's just the reality of the situation. Now, again, the question is what to expect moving forward. Now, there's a few options, okay? I personally think that the best strategy is not to hold a House floor vote until you actually have the 217 votes to make Jim Jordan the Speaker of the House, okay? We don't want to go through 15 rounds of putting Jim Jordan through that ritual in front of Democrats. I don't think that that's necessary, okay? What I would like to see, if it's necessary to do, okay, is to actually have an open door meeting with the GOP and the GOP only. That way, the ballots aren't secret. The public knows who voted for Jordan, who didn't vote for Jordan. And that way, public pressure can pressure the Republican holdouts to get behind Jordan before actually putting the official vote on the floor, right, with Democrats in the whole House. Okay, I think that that's the way to go. If, for whatever reason, Jim Jordan cannot negotiate his way to a deal with the Republican holdouts. Now, again, I personally believe that a lot of the issues will involve funding for Ukraine, funding for the other conflicts going on in the world. And I think that a lot of it is going to come down to that, okay? And I'm just keeping it 100 with you guys. I'm being 100% honest with you. If Jim Jordan actually can get the Republican votes in a way that's not too messy, Okay, it's because he made significant concessions, right? He made significant concessions to the Republican holdouts who are going to be the more moderate members, right? The more moderate Republicans. He's going to have to make significant concessions if he can get there without it getting too messy, right? Right now, it looks like it's going to get messy, okay? Now, again, if it gets messy in the sense that these holdouts just want to reject Jordan because they're upset with the fact that Kevin McCarthy got ousted, or again, they're doing it out of the principle of the fact that they're mad that, Matt Gaetz caused them to do this or whatever, right? For whatever reason, they oppose Jim Jordan. Again, you can have an open floor vote and you can make their votes public. And that way the people can pressure those Republicans to then vote for Jim Jordan. Regardless, I don't think that the GOP should bring a vote to the floor until Jim Jordan has the votes. If it has to get messy, at the very least, make it get messy just among the GOP, right? Don't bring it to the floor to vote with Democrats until you actually have a guy. Now, again, because I'm honest with you guys, I also have to go through another scenario with you guys, which is the worst case scenario, which could possibly happen. If the GOP is so stuck in their ways, right? Some of these guys, again, they're loyal to Kevin McCarthy. They hate what happened to him. They want him to be speaker. What could happen is some Republicans who live in the swing districts, districts that went to Biden, they could possibly decide to say, you know what, screw this whole process. We're going to cut a deal with Hakeem Jeffries and Democrats in order to make Hakeem Jeffries speaker. Now, again, what is the likelihood of this happening? I think that is slim, but it is something that should be considered because a lot of these politicians are under massive pressure to, quote unquote, get back to work because, again, they want to keep sending money to fight other people's wars, right? That's what they want to do, okay? And that pressure is going to mount the longer that the GOP does not have a Speaker of the House. You still have the debt ceiling battle. You still have Joe Biden's impeachment. You still have a lot of other things that's going on in Congress that has to get done, okay? And the more time that they use trying to decide a speaker, the more pressure it's going to put on some Republicans to, you know what, we just got to get a speaker no matter what. They might just join the Democrats, right? So again, be aware that that is a possibility. There is a possibility. It's a slim possibility that this can result in Hakeem Jeffries becoming Speaker of the House. Okay, if Republicans in swing districts decide that they're so fed up with the process that they would rather work with Democrats than to continue to work with Republicans, which again is a possibility. Me personally, I hope that the Republicans who are opposed to Jim Jordan, I hope that they can actually swallow their pride and get on board with what the people want. All right. I think that the ideal scenario for me is that they have an open vote on the floor just with the GOP so that we can see which GOP representatives are opposed to Jordan and which ones are not. And then the ones that are opposed to Jordan, the people can call those representatives and say, hey, I want you to vote for Jordan, okay? I need you to do what we elected you to do. Because a lot of these guys, again, they're not voting based off what their constituents want. They're voting based off the money, right? That's what they're voting based off of, okay? So ideally, I think that's what happens. And I would much rather that happen than Jim Jordan having to compromise with the moderate Republicans and give away a significant amount of concessions to the point where it's like, well, Jim Jordan's not really making much of a difference because he's basically conducted himself or administrating the House just like a Kevin McCarthy would or a Steve Scalise. So essentially, we have the guy that we want, but basically because he cut so many deals with the moderate Republicans, he couldn't really exercise the power that he wanted to exercise. We can't really push the agenda that we want to push. So again, I hope that he doesn't have to do that, right? I hope he doesn't have to give up significant concessions. I guess that would be the ideal scenario, is that he doesn't have to, give up significant concessions, that these Republicans just get on board and they just rally around Jim Jordan because that's who the people want. And then they go to the House floor and, they vote for Jim Jordan and that's it. But again, my gut feeling tells me that it's not going to happen like that, right? It's probably not going to happen in the way that I think is the most painless, right? I think that is still going to be messy, but I hope that somehow, some way, it eventually gets us to Jim Jordan being Speaker of the House, okay? I just hope he doesn't have to give up too much power in order to get there. So we'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.